Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News Weekend. A new university is set to open in Nunavut in 2030. Its supporters say it will offer a whole new range of opportunities to Inuit youth that many did not think possible before. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
Riley Winters says the opportunity to take courses in her traditional language was something she missed out on at university.
I mean, it would be amazing just to have the opportunity to attend post-secondary in community in your homeland. I think it's also another to be able to learn your language, to learn at a place of higher education like that. I personally didn't have the opportunity to learn my language at university, but now this is a possibility.
Winters was speaking at an event in Ottawa earlier this week, where officials announced that the new Nunavut University will be located in Arkvat. Winters' family is from Nunavut, and she attended a post-secondary school in Newfoundland. Kivalliq Inuit Association President Kono Tatatni shares Winters' same thoughts.
For young people, this university represents opportunity that we never had. The opportunity to pursue higher education while staying close to home and family, to language and to culture. It represents the opportunity to build careers in fields grounded in Inuit knowledge and Inuit Kawimayatokangit. Also, while opening doors to new pathways across Canada and the world.
The university will have 3 different faculties. One will feature courses on Inuit self-determination, another will train health and education workers, and the other will focus on teaching Inuit language. Inuit Tapparit Kanatami President Nate Nobed says location has been the main barrier preventing Inuit people from attaining a post-secondary education.
I would not be in the role that I am in without university. And I'm sure there are many people in this room that would say the very same thing about where they are in their careers. That is not something that many Inuit have been able to achieve. Breaking down this barrier, giving Inuit more opportunities to achieve whatever it is that they want to do in their lives has everything to do with why we are pursuing this.
Nunavut Tungavik President Paul Ingout adds the next generation of Inuit leadership will be able to attain the skills they need while remaining grounded in culture.
Inuit-led University will be a place where you can learn while staying connected to your community, language, and culture. It will be a place of that nurtures confidence, pride, and leadership, and ensures that you are supported in ways that reflect Inuit ways of knowing and being.
Inuit-Nunavut University will be the first Inuit-led university in Canada's Arctic. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Exciting news there. Well, the First Nation in British Columbia has developed a new subdivision with houses that were intended for demolition until a new partnership was created. APTN's Tina House has that story.
What started as a chance encounter at a coffee shop has now led to this newly created subdivision for the Seashelt First Nation. It started with just 10 homes and then became 17, completely renovated and repurposed, with families now proudly living in them.
Within our community, we had over 200 people on our housing list, and a majority of our people are living sometimes 2-3 families in one house. So for them now to be able to have their own place all to themselves and their children to have their own place, it is quite truly amazing.
However, it wasn't an easy task to make this happen. These homes were intended for demolition after the city of Port Moody bought the homes to make way for a new SkyTrain line. The CEO of Renewal Development, Glenn Lewis, saw an opportunity and devised a plan to relocate and repurpose these homes alongside developer Dean Johnson of West Group. The houses were then lifted onto semi-trucks and then loaded onto barges. Those barges were then towed to their new location in Seashell, BC, on the Sunshine Coast. Local tradesmen and women from the nation were hired to renovate and rebuild the newly redesigned homes into modern showpieces. Glenn Lewis says the project is being recognized worldwide.
It caught the attention and it's mobilized the imagination of architects and developers and decision makers around the world now. So I think everybody who's had a hand in building this, everybody who's had a hand in helping to move this forward should take some pride today to know that we've done something visionary, we've done something bold, we've done something that's going to hopefully prove the possibilities of sustainable development.
Band counselor Kenneth Jewell says he's emotional thinking about what these new homes mean for his nation members.
You know, talking to those who have moved into these homes and, you know, hearing the happiness from them. You know, my daughter has her own room, my son has his own room. You know, my nation members coming up to our administration office and coming to thank, you know, chief and council and, you know, breaking down in tears that they are so happy for, you know, what they now have. So it's, you know, it hits the heart, you know, the happiness that I'm hearing from my people.
I would say to other nations, if there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way to get homes to our communities, and we know that so many of our Indigenous communities are struggling with a lack of homes. So this is one way of getting homes into your community.
And here on this newly created street called Smileath, which means Wild Man of the Woods, the Sechelt First Nation intends to build 94 more homes in this newly created subdivision. Tina House, APTN National News, Sechelt.
Thanks, Tina. APTN News recently spoke with a Greenlandic Inuk living in Canada about sovereignty, her homeland, and the U.S. threats of annexation. Sav Jonza has more.
Recent U.S. threats of annexing Greenland have stunted conversations around the territory's independence from Denmark. While many Greenlandic Inuit want sovereignty, Denmark provides their military defense, keeping them safe from foreign interference. It's a sticky situation to be in, says Tupangnak Kopek.
And what I feel as a Greenlandic Inuk that talks about independence for Greenland, this has been a little bit hard because the conversations have been a little bit put on hold now. But that's just how it is. And I don't think I can ever forgive Trump for that because we deserve these conversations.
Kopek was born and raised in Nuuk, Greenland, but has lived in Canada for the last 5 years. She shared the story of her homeland struggle during a keynote speech at a conference in Winnipeg.
Greenland, in my opinion, is one of the most peaceful places on Earth, and now is being discussed as a potential site of conflict. A place with no military on its own, a place centered around community, land, and survival. At some point, we even asked ourselves, is Greenland going to be the reason why there is World War III?
Kopek says family and friends living in Greenland were scared enough to consider fleeing their homes after their prime minister told them to prepare for a possible U.S. military invasion in January. She says over the last year, fears around U.S. interest in Greenland have changed the course away from independence.
I noticed our last election, a party that usually isn't the biggest party, but the party that's one we know wants to stay connected to Denmark, won. They were the biggest party now, where they usually aren't, because people were like, now we need to stick together.
At the World Economic Forum, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said his country stands firmly with Greenland and Denmark. He did not mention Inuit. In February, Canada opened a consulate in Nuuk, one of the first countries to do so. More than 90 Inuit from Canada flew there to celebrate the milestone. Kopek says the relationship between Inuit in Canada and Greenland remains strong.
It was beautiful to see, like the whole plane filled with Canadian Inuit with the Greenlandic flag and the Canadian flag together. It really warmed my heart, and it just showed that we Inuit are one people, just separated by borders.
Kopek says Canada made one glaring mistake that could have acknowledged Inuit living in both countries. She says the consul should have been an Inuk.
Maybe it's hard to find someone right for the job, but I don't think so. There's so many amazing, smart Inuit up there.
Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A new episode of APTN Investigates airs right after this newscast. We'll bring you a preview right after the break. Stick around. Welcome back. The leadership of Fort William First Nation, Anishinaabe Aski Nation, and the City of Thunder Bay are collaborating on the homelessness crisis. This comes after Fort William First Nation Chief Michelle Solomon and Nan Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler called on Thunder Bay Mayor Ken Boshkoff to declare a state of emergency in response to the homelessness crisis and the extreme cold weather. The leaders met recently and agreed to meet again at a future date. Chief Solomon says a disproportionate number of First Nations people are homeless in Thunder Bay.
There is a significant population of First Nation people who are, don't have a home in Thunder Bay. And I guess, on my part, I really believe that this is a significantly complex issue that requires, a coordinated effort to start to address.
APTN National News reached out to Nan and the City of Thunder Bay for comment. A spokesperson for Nan said there will be no further comment at this time, while a spokesperson for the city said the mayor's schedule would not permit an on-camera interview. Cree Nation from northern Manitoba was in federal court this past week regarding the long-term impacts of flooding and hydro development. The Opaskwayak Cree Nation wants to put Canada on the hook for not protecting their livelihood. Here's T.R. Wheatley with the details.
Chief Michael G. Constant of the Opaskwayak Cree Nation debriefs with these high school students who made the trip to Winnipeg to sit inside a federal courtroom. Opaskwayak is challenging Canada in what they call the Forbay case. In court, Opaskwaяк's legal team hopes to prove the feds didn't do anything to protect Opaskwayak from Manitoba Hydro. At issue, the Grand Rapids Generating Station was built in the 1960s and located about 145 kilometers southeast of Opaskwayak on the banks of the Saskatchewan River next to the Paw. Jersey Young is one of those students in Winnipeg. She sat through testimony of elders, a mapping expert, and a historian so far, all of whom have spoke about the flooding impacts around Opaskwaяк's traditional territory.
We can't do the stuff that we used to do before, and I always wanted to go out in the land, but never really had the opportunity to.
The 17-year-old is hoping to graduate this year, and learning on the land has inspired her to become a conservation officer.
I'm just glad I was brought here by Mr. Cashel because he wanted us to learn about the land and how it's good to us and how we treat it.
Words that were also echoed by her classmate, Zach Harris.
It's been pretty interesting to learn about what's been happening with our land and our animals.
Seeing these youth engaged in Opaskwaяк's history is important for Chief Constant, who says this case gathered decades worth of research, academic, land-based, and history from its own members. All of which Constant says can prove the direct link of the damage from the dam on Opaskwaяк's livelihood.
We were rich with family, we were rich with food, we were rich with land. Today, we eat off the shelves of corporations, of the corporate community, where diabetes is high now. That wasn't the case when pre-Grand Rapids Dam. So you see the severity of the impacts of how this has caused livelihoods in generations to come.
But these kids aren't the only ones who can benefit from the Forbay case. Constance says many Indigenous communities face legacy impacts from major infrastructure projects.
For the next 6 weeks, I encourage the members of the urban area to come and listen in, because it's a file that's been decades and decades of information.
This traditional drumming ceremony opened the trial earlier this week, a trial that is expected to have expert witnesses for the next 6 weeks. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
APTN Investigates returns tonight with an all-new episode. Reporter Brittany Guillot looks into the mystery surrounding the disappearance of 25-year-old Joshua Francis Soto. Soto vanished from his family's property on Whitefish Lake First Nation in northern Alberta. in the spring of 2025. Weeks prior to his disappearance, Soto won $1 million on a scratch ticket. Here's a preview.
Listen to me very carefully. We're going to make our way down through this cut line. If anybody sees anything or whatever, shout. You got that? So if everybody's ready, let's go.
All right. It's the first heavy snowfall of the season in Whitefish Lake, Alberta.
10 yards apart from each other.
And Eliza Daniels is leading the search for her 25-year-old grandson, Joshua Soto.
Okay, you guys ready? Let's go. They have searched several areas, regions on the other side of this property and further down this way, as to my understanding.
According to the RCMP, Joshua was last seen on May 5th, 2025. The details of his disappearance are unusual.
Alberta RCMP are asking the public for any tips about a First Nations man missing for more than 5 months in the northeastern part of the province. Weeks prior to Soto's disappearance, he won $1 million on a scratch-and-win ticket.
To better understand what really happened here, APTN Investigates traveled to Whitefish Lake, a Cree reserve in northern Alberta. Ranches, cattle, rolling hills. It's a place where people know the land, and they know each other. And when someone doesn't come home, the absence reverberates throughout the community.
And you can catch that in just a couple of minutes from now. A big Métis celebration this week ahead of Louis Riel Day in Manitoba. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. A young man from Northern Ontario is getting ready to compete in an all-Indigenous boxing event in British Columbia this month. Buckskin gloves presented by Rumble at the Rock will see amateur fighters from across Canada converge on Richmond, BC. One of those fighters is 16-year-old Keenan Flett. APTN's Mike McDonald reports.
Even though he's only 16, Keenan Flett of Sandy Lake First Nation has already been boxing for 4 years. Fighting out of the underground gym in Thunder Bay, Flett says the sport has brought a lot into his life.
I like the self-esteem it gives to me. Makes me feel great about myself. Gives you a meaning to life, like something to do. Like it gives you a strength to keep on going. It gives you the confidence. My friends, my family, they push me to keep on going, even though when there's like moments where I just want to quit. But my friends, they always push me to keep on going.
Flett says that push to overcome adversity has gotten him through some tough times, especially at the beginning of his boxing journey.
When I was a beginner, I had some people like brutally beat me in the ring. I was crying in the washroom one time. I wanted to like quit the sport, but it's like the only thing I'm only good at is fighting. So I just came back, got my confidence up, and I just started controlling the ring.
Peter Panetta, owner of the underground gym and Flett's coach, says his fighter personifies the discipline and dedication needed to succeed as a fighter.
Keenan has put in a lot of work, and he's getting rewarded. He just finished Quebec last year, and now he's going to go to Vancouver and fight in an all-Indigenous fight card. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Flett won his first fight at the Quebec Open last year, ultimately taking the silver medal. Panetta says Flett's home community of Sandy Lake has been very supportive of him, as well as the gym itself.
His res is just hugely supportive. They're looking at having us go up there and, do a boxing and bullying type of, exhibition for them. They're very keen on promoting fitness for their youth, and I think that's so important.
The bell rings February 20th at the River Rock Show Theatre, and Flett has a message for his opponent.
Ethan, if you're watching this, I'm coming for you, and this fight's not going to be easy.
Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
A big Métis celebration took place last week at the University of Manitoba on Friday in preparation for Louis Riel Day on February 16th. Sav Jones brings us this lively event straight to your living room.
A dancing bug affected several people during this Louis Riel Day celebration in Winnipeg. They did their best jigging routines as fiddles sang their cultural songs deeply rooted in Manitoba history. Director of Cultural Integration for the University of Manitoba, Vanessa Lilly, says it's moments like these that truly bring the campus together.
We are celebrating Métis culture, heritage, history, and Louis Riel. We're having lunch right now, so we're enjoying some food with community members. People have come to celebrate with us, maybe learn how to jig later. We're going to be having some fiddling music and some community visiting.
Also known as the birthplace of the Red River Métis, Manitoba celebrates Louis Riel Day on the third Monday in February, though festivities take place throughout the weekend. More than 150 attendees learned how to finger weave a Métis sash, use glass beads to create beautiful artwork, and churn their own butter, Métis style. Gavin Forbes led the cream shaking workshop.
The significance behind the butters that us Red River Métis would always make the things at home. We try our best to not buy things from abroad, so that we are very much sustaining and living off of the land.
Folks shook small jars with all their might to make their own topping, perfect for bannock. He says he's proud to teach others the traditional Métis way of life.
They walk away with a sample butter and a better understanding about our ways of life as Red River Métis on the farms.
Several speakers shared personal stories on the complexities of Métis identity and pride. Accounting and finance student Gabriel Perry says he's thankful embracing his Métis heritage was a large part of his childhood.
When I think about Louis Riel Day, I don't think about an extra day off of work or school. I think about the pain, suffering, sacrifice, and grit the Métis had and still have today. I think about the countless people, past and present, who have paved the way for a boy like me to get an excellent education, to have the opportunities I have, and to also have a community like no other here in Manitoba.
Lilly says roughly 1,600 students at the province's largest educational institution are Métis.
There's been a long time, a long history of Indigenous people, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit not being represented in educational systems. And it's really important to create space for students, staff, and for us to learn together, community space to learn together, but also to highlight our amazing and vibrant community here on campus.
For APTN National News, I'm Sav Jones in Winnipeg.
Burning up the floor there, Sav. Good stuff. Looks like a great event. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this weekend. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy McGuitch. Thanks for being with us. Stay tuned. Investigates is up next. Have a great night.